Congratulations. You found me just in time for another all-new edition of The Joe Show. And as we put a bow on the regular season for the boys' hoops this week and tip the playoffs off for girls' teams around the state, it gets me thinking about my 53 career postseason wins. One for every week of the year, plus overtime for my leap year babies. But unlike those teams in the NBA All-Star games, my squads actually played some defense. Good luck asking one of these guys to take a charge, something we practice 6 days a week in my day. And what's with all these three-pointers? Do these players these days even know where a mid-range is? And fat chance you're getting one of these new generation players to post up on the block. I swear some of these guys would get lost if they put their back to the basket. And another thing...
Coach, calm down, man. High school. We still play defense in high school. You're retired, remember. You got a show to host right now. We're good. We're good. Defense is still played here in North Central Ohio.
But that's my past life now. So let's get back to building my Hall of Fame hosting career, because episode 7 starts now. Over the course of this new season of the show, I've spent a lot of time in gyms getting to know successful head coaches throughout the area. But for any program to truly prosper, it takes a dedicated staff to drive that success. So I caught up with some strong assistant coaches to get their perspective on building a winning program. We're here with Dave Hershey, longtime assistant here at Willard. You've had a long career as both a boys varsity head coach and an assistant coach over the years. And I think it's always interesting for people, if they watch this show, is to hear kind of about the coach's journey. So if you could kind of, go back and tell us a little about your journey as far as kind of where you started and now where you've ended up here at Willard.
It's going to be longer than the Gettysburg Address. I started in 1984, and I was a JV coach / assistant varsity coach at Plymouth for Dave Dunn. And I was assistant for 3 years, and then I took over the head coaching job because when you're 24, you think you know everything. And I thought, well, I'll jump right into the head coaching position. And I wasn't ready, but hey, I did it anyway. And then I was the head coach at Plymouth from 1987 to 1990. They were having some financial issues, and I was low man on the totem pole. So I left, went to Norwalk as an assistant. So I jumped back in the assistant's role at Norwalk from 90 to 95. I coached under Ken Brose, and got the itch again to be a head coach. So I went to Bucyrus, and I became the head coach at Bucyrus. 95-96 was my first season there. I was there for 4 years. Got out. I wasn't. Bucyrus is a great place. I enjoyed my teaching there and the coaching, but we were having a hard time getting over the hump. And to be honest with you, I was like, geez, I don't know, maybe it's me. I wasn't sure if head coaching was my gig. So went back to Plymouth for a year as a volunteer assistant for Brad Turson, had a great year with him. And then Rob Sheldon came beckoning and offered me an assistant's job at Wynford. So I was teaching in Bucyrus at the time, so it wasn't a long drive. So I went to Wynford, was a head coach under Rob for 3 years, and then Tim took over, Tim Ersman, and then I was his assistant for 4 years. And then at that time, I was getting the itch again, and I just got married, and my wife was from Willard, so I decided to come back here, and been here since 2008. So I was head coach, I think, 4 years here, 4 or 5 years, and then I had to get out for my wife's health issues. I was out for 4 years, and then Joe came back, asked me to jump in the co-pilot seat, so here I am again.
So, you've been an assistant. You mentioned Wynford, great program. Mm-hmm. You and Joe have done a great job of kind of returning Willard to their glory days a little bit here. We have a lot of, we're old guys now. So being an assistant is for somebody that's a young coach that maybe is an assistant now that aspires to be a head coach. Maybe give us a little bit of idea of what you suggest an assistant coach should do as far as in a program.
Listen, I think that's a big key, you know, and that goes clear back to when I was Dave Dunn's assistant in the mid 80s. Listen, loyalty is huge. Staying loyal, you know, support the head coach. Try to help any way you can. You know, I try to help Joe. A lot of times I try to stay out of Joe's way because he does such a great job. But you help out. You know, film breakdown's huge. Kind of stay under the radar. So that's just kind of unusual. I'm doing this interview because I always say assistant coaches should be like just under the radar. They're to be, you know, just there, not to be seen or to be heard. But listen to the coach's instructions. Be a program guy. And I think that goes along with the loyalty and the support of the head coach.
We're here with varsity assistant, JV coach.
Yep.
At Wynford, for the Wynford Lady Warriors, Buzz Coker. In fact, you know, you've been around a long time.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
I think I just saw it's 40 years.
Yep.
And you just won your 500th game as a JV coach. So one of the things we like to kind of do with this segment is kind of just get a little about how you got started in coaching and then a little bit about your coaching journey. So just kind of tell us about that if you would.
I started back in 1982, and Larry Miller was the head coach for the girls, and he called me up and wanted to do junior high girls. I said, might as well. I was a farmer, and winter months kind of slow, so I got time to do it stuff, you know. And it started then back in '82, and been doing it ever since. Combination of junior high. I did 1 year freshman and JVs the rest of the years.
So you mentioned, you know, we mentioned you were been an assistant for 40 years. So you mentioned you started for Coach Larry Miller, and I'm sure since those 40 years started, you've really grown as a coach. So kind of one of the interesting things, I guess, is there any, like, who's kind of been an influence in your coaching career, whether it be coaches you've coached with or maybe coaches that you've looked at and kind of admired how they played?
Let's probably start out with Dick Trevay. He was the head coach, and he's the one who pulled me up to do JV. And, you know, we got along well together. And I learned a lot from him as far as, you know, some of the facets of the game, but also how to relate to kids and parents, because at the time he was a guidance counselor, so he knew how to, you know, work with kids and talk with kids. And the part I enjoy with it was just the relationship with the kids. And then Kathy Hill was here just only 3 years, but then when Amy Taylor came aboard, we've been together for 28 years. In the same way, it was just us two to start with. So we leaned on each other a lot. You know, she leaned on me for some experiences I had in coaching. And then, you know, coming out of college, she knew from the college standpoint, but it was different from college to teaching high school girls. And I think I helped her from that standpoint, that transition a little bit, how to relate to high school girls. Then Rob Sheldon was around then too, and he helped out a lot with that over the years with Amy, the first couple years, stuff like that. And then eventually we got some assistant coaches, and me and Michael and Amy, we've been together for 20 years all together, all three of us have been together. So just a relationship you develop over those years. I really enjoyed, back in the day, when I first started out JV coaches there, coaches stuck around longer at schools. And I got a relationship with like Glenn Bieber over at Colonel Crawford and the standard he had with winning, and learned some things from him. And George Sheets down at Ridgedale, we played them, and the relationship I had with him the same way. You just always, you know, those guys, they had good programs, you want to beat them and stuff, you know. But it was just, I learned things from them. We talk a lot back in the day when we played each other, so we just kind of got things back and forth from each other. So, you know, nowadays, like I said, coaches don't stick around.
Yep.
So you don't get to know them very, very well. And so it's so hard to develop a relationship with them and stuff. And I think that's what we've had with our three coaches for the many years we've had here at Wynford and everything. And that's one thing that's really been blessed to have that relationship with them. And I learned a lot from Amy, because she's she learned from Sheldon's, let's put it that way. And just, you know, determination she has, not to make the players good basketball players, but good people.
Yep.
And down the road. And there's been so many kids after they graduate come back to Amy, and even me too, and said, hey, just appreciate what you did and how you built me for life and everything stuff, And that 500th, celebration we had so many kids come up and tell me how much they appreciate it. I got cards and letters from the past players of just what I meant to them. And you look back, you got a lot, you knew how it is.
Yep.
When you go through a lot of difficulties, parents, but when you get things like that from kids, it just means coaching basketball. It just makes so much more and so rewarding for me.
Well, we're here with Todd Karras, longtime assistant with the Shelby Whippets. And Coach Karras, one of the things we've tried to do this year is just kind of talk to various assistants, especially guys that have been in a long time. So I think the first thing, though, is, I know you played for Coach Steve Moore back in the days at Buckeye Central. Not that long ago. But maybe just give our audience a little bit about your journey of where you started in coaching and then how you became an assistant here at Shelby.
I've been doing this, year 27, so it's started out doing some junior high jobs, Buckeye Central, here at Shelby, at Ridgedale, and then...
That was under Steve Gray.
Yeah. And then followed Steve to Lexington and was his freshman coach for 3 years, and then back to Buckeye Central, did JV coach there for 2 years under Dan Bates, and then varsity assistant under Phil Loy for 3 years there, and then came to Shelby in 07 under Troy Schwemley, and have been here ever since then. So been around a lot of good coaches.
Been in a long time. Favorite part of coaching?
Just being around the kids, watching kids grow from freshmen all the way to seniors.
That's what I just told Isaiah. I said it was interesting to see how he's grown as a player from a freshman to his senior year.
And just being part of a lot of different groups and different teams and seeing the success that we've had.
Flip the coin 180 degrees. Least part, if you can mention them.
I mean, it's a long season. I mean, a lot of time away from family. I was fortunate enough that both my boys played here at Shelby under me and as a JV coach, and then at least, just being able to spend time with them in the gym, but it does wear on you as far as being away from family and just all the extra time as far as scouting and time demand, basically.
Many thanks to those assistant coaches who provided some insight into their roles on each staff, and best of luck to each of those teams as they gear up for postseason play. Last week on Coach B's Ballers, we put up 10 nominations for a fan vote, and according to the fans, here's your winner from February 7th through the 13th. Congratulations to Mansfield Christian freshman forward Bailey Nelson, who scored a career-high 24 points versus Bucyrus. You are the fan vote winner of Coach B's Ballers. Now it's time to meet the nominees for our final regular season edition of Coach B's Ballers. Here comes the best individual performances captured by our cameras over the last 7 days. Our first nominee is Kayla Larimore of the Centerburg Trojans. This junior forward let it fly in the Coliseum as she scored 23 points last Thursday in the Lady Trojans' 56-24 win over Genoa Christian. Kayla also had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals in this contest as she and her teammates put a stranglehold on Genoa Christian by not allowing a single point in the second quarter. The Trojans finished the regular season with an overall record of 17-5 and a 9-3 record as the K-MAC champions. Our second nominee is Holden Darris of the Upper Sandusky Rams. Holden scored 18 points in his final home game as the Rams pummeled Buckeye Central 66-25 last Friday night. Holden averages almost 15 points per game and grabs just over 6 rebounds a game. Holden was recently selected to the Division II District 6 first team. The Rams currently stand at 12-9 for the season and will travel to Cary to take on the Blue Devils, who currently sit on top of the N10, tied with Colonel Crawford. The Rams will begin tournament play on Tuesday, the 27th, when they host Defiance. A win would put them in the sectional final against the number 1 seeded Elida Bulldogs on Friday, March the 1st at Elida. Our third nominee is Eve Swemley of the Shelby Whippets. This junior scored 12 points on her senior teammate's final home game of the season. Eve knocked down a pair of threes in the Whippets' 58-38 win over their arch rival Willard Flashes. The MOAC champions finished the regular season with a 17-5 overall record and will begin tournament play on Thursday night when they host Rossford. A win would put the Whippets in the sectional final on Saturday night at home. Our fourth nominee is Grant Bentley of the Northmore Golden Knights. Grant finished the regular season of his senior year in style as he scored 24 points, which included knocking down 3 threes in the Knights' 71-44 victory over Loudonville last Thursday. This senior was the leading scorer in the KMAC this season and was recently selected as the Division IV Central District Player of the Year. The Knights wrapped up their regular season last night with a buzzer-beating loss to Gallion. Northmore finishes the regular season with a record of 16-6 and will begin tournament play on Saturday, March the 2nd as the number 3 seed in the Central District when they host Groveport Madison Christian. Our fifth nominee is Maya Vermilia of the Loudonville Redbirds. This freshman stepped up big in the Redbirds' dominating 88-49 win over Columbia, who had entered this final game of the regular season with a record of 19-2. Maya, the younger sister of Corey Vermilia, who is a potential Miss Basketball candidate, buried 8 threes in this big-time victory for the Lady Redbirds. Loudonville finished the regular season as the number 6 team in the Division IV Associated Press poll and won tonight in their tournament opener over Youngstown Valley Christian. This win puts Loudonville in the district semifinals on Thursday, February the 28th at Norwayne High School. Our sixth nominee is Payne DeGray of the Colonel Crawford Eagles. This sophomore post player was dominant in the Eagles' 48-42 win at Wynford last Friday night. Payne scored 14 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and blocked 2 shots. In fact, Payne out-rebounded the entire Wynford team 15-11. The Eagles now sit at 16-5 overall and sit at the top of the N10 along with Cary with records of 10-3. The Eagles can grab a share of the title with the win at home over Mohawk. Colonel Crawford will start tournament play in the Division IV district next Friday when they play the winner of Plymouth and Buckeye Central. Our seventh nominee is Max Dawson of the Willard Crimson Flashes. Max showed why he's one of the top players in the state as he scored 25 points and dished out 8 assists in the Flashes' 77-39 win at Margaretta last Friday night. The Flashes were clicking on all cylinders against the Polar Bears, who had entered the contest at 17-2 and undefeated in league play. Max and his teammates grabbed a share of the Bay Division crown last night with their win over Vermilion. The Flashes will wrap up their regular season in one of the most anticipated games of the season when they host arch rival Shelby on Friday night. Max, along with Alex Brushgotter of Shelby, were selected as the 2 top players for the Division II District 16. Tournament play begins for the Flashes a week from Friday when they host the winner of Tiffin Columbian and Sandusky Perkins at home. Our 8th nominee is Vari Adams of the Westerville North Warriors. This senior post player was dominant in the Warriors' 82-49 win over Dublin Scioto on senior night. Vari played above the rim most of the night as he had 4 dunks, including 2 alley-oop slams. They're 17-4 in the season and finished second in the Capital Division of the Ohio Capital Conference, behind Delaware Hayes, who is the number 5 ranked team in the state. North, the number 6 seed in the Division I Central District, will open play on Tuesday, February the 27th, when they host Grove City Central Crossings. A win would put them in the sectional championship on Friday, March the 1st at home versus Columbus West. Our 9th nominee is Garrett Holtz of the Clear Fork Colts. This junior forward went to work in the paint against crosstown rival Madison in the Colts' 45-43 win last night. Garrett scored 17 points to lead his team to their 9th win of the season. Clear Fork will wrap up its regular season on Friday night when they host Ontario. The Colts will then begin tournament play on Tuesday, February the 27th, when they travel to Gallion in their 3rd matchup of the season. Amar showed off on senior night last night as he scored 21 points in the Flames' 81-34 win over New London. Amar is a first-team District 6 selection and averages almost 16 points per game. Mansfield Christian finishes the regular season with an impressive 18-4 record. Amar and his teammates will begin tournament play on Tuesday, February the 27th, when they will again host New London in the Division 4 district tournament. We'll post these nominees for a fan vote tomorrow to determine which of my ballers had the best performance of the week. After a short commercial break, I'll talk with OH Report's Bryce Coder about basketball down in the state's capital. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to the Joe Show. We'd like to welcome in Bryce Coder, our Columbus area correspondent, and talk a little bit about Columbus basketball hoops. So welcome, Bryce.
Thanks, Coach Balogh. Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. So I think the first thing we want to kind of talk about, we've covered several teams in the Columbus area, and kind of, tournaments coming up next week, and kind of delve into that a little bit here as we get into the show.
Yeah, so looking at our 2 area teams, one of our big ones, Big Walnut, they were so gracious in having us. They've been so welcoming in the community, and it's been great being there. They're 16-6. They're the number 11 seed in the Central District. They're Central 3 on that division. They're going to play the winner, Grove City, in St. Charles on March 1st. But, that team, they're just so solid. They're sturdy. Defensively, they can really slow down teams better than anyone I've seen. And they keep a good head on their shoulders under pressure. It's really incredible to see how they move the ball through pressure and create pressure opportunities of their own. With that being said, scoring, I think, is a real opportunity for improvement. They have Trent Miner, but with Trent Miner, he's so integral to the offense. You look up and suddenly he has 15, 16, 17 points, and you don't even realize it. I think he really needs kind of a second scorer to step in or step up into that role to kind of relieve some of that pressure as they get on into the later parts of this tournament. But I think beyond that, they're going to be really strong, especially if that 3-ball starts falling. They love to pound the ball inside. They're very system-based. They look to pass the ball down into that post block. But if they can stretch it out, I think they're going to have a lot of success stretching out that defense.
Well, I think Trent Miner, when you have a player like him, you can make a tournament run around him. They have a really good point guard in Hatfield, who's probably one of the quickest point guards in that area. And when he takes care of the basketball, they're really good. And I don't know the roster for sure, but I do know they bring a freshman off the bench. And I believe the night I saw them play early in the year against New Albany, he had like 4 threes, like back to back to back. So players like that, if they can step up into those roles, like you said, and get a second score, I think they're going to be a team that's going to be hard to beat if they start making a tournament run.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of great options of guys who can step up into that role. Guys like you said, Brody Hatfield, and he really is the floor general for that team. He creates so much offense for them. He already draws so much attention to him. I would love to see how things would go if he were to shoot that 3-ball as soon as he picks up the pass, if he could throw a little more floaters into the action. But I think having him as a scoring threat is going to draw more and more attention, create more and more opportunities inside to Miner and to guys like Campagna, which is exactly what they're looking for in their scheme. They're looking to penetrate towards that basket, get within 10 feet, draw that help side defender, and then dish it down low. And that's where they excel as a team when they're doing well.
Yeah, and if you look at their bracket, I mean, as you mentioned, They play the winner of Grove City and Columbus St. Charles. And if the bracket kind of plays out like we might think it will, they would match up in the district semifinals, probably with Gahanna Lincoln. And Gahanna Lincoln with Coach Tony Stibe, I think he's got like 400 career wins, has done a great job there. But maybe, I don't think Gahanna's maybe as strong as they've been the past 2 to 3 years. So they could easily be a team that could get to the district finals out of this bracket.
And I believe they would, if all things goes, we're expecting they would meet Hayes there as well, which would be an interesting matchup, a rivalry matchup between the two of them. But yeah, interesting to see how the run's going to go. I think it's going to be good for them.
Yeah, because if you look at the other side of the bracket, again, if you kind of played out, it looks like that it would be Hayes and Westerville South playing in the other district semifinal to be in the district final to get to the regional. And the interesting thing with that, though, would be this would be the third time that Hayes and Westerville South play during the year, and those games always become very, very interesting when you play somebody 3 times in a year. And I think we're going to probably talk about some of the players in the Columbus area that are really good players. But for those guys that are seniors, once they graduate in May, they're going to probably just have a couple weeks, and then they're going to be on their college campus and doing all kinds of stuff during the summer. And there's not really going to be a break for them, really probably for 4 years, because it continues in the summer, the fall, then you start your season, and once your season's over in March, you're going to have maybe a week or 2 weeks, and you're going to be right back at it again. So it really becomes a job, not just, I guess maybe more at the D1 level, but at the D2 and D3 levels, there's still an expectation of you as a player that you have to put in a lot of time. And I think sometimes people don't understand the amount of time that these young athletes do put in.
All right, so we'll take a look at Westerville North, their feature now. So they're the 6th seed in the Central District. They're in Central 4. On the 27th, they're going to play Central Crossing out of Grove City. A lot of great guys on that team. It's really kind of incredible how many scoring threats and scoring options they have on that team. Guys like Ty Perkins, guys like Micah Young, Tyson Perkins, Vari Adams, Ian Robinson providing so much support. He's been our MVP player of the game a couple of times. But, we were talking about it before, but they have a real opportunity to make a deep run beyond just, the Hayes, the Olentangy Orange teams that we see. They can be a real contender up there this season, I think, in the tournament.
Yeah, if you take a look at their bracket, I mean, the other highest seed in the bracket is at number 15, and that's Pick Central. So the problem, though, is the success that Pick Central's had over the past few years. Those guys, I think, embrace this tournament run. But if we were taking a look at just as far as seeds, the road to a district championship is going to be easier for Westerville North compared to many of the other districts that we have. And I know, Bryce, you've got to see them. I've got to see Westerville North, I think, 3 times. And I'm just really impressed with them. I'm impressed with, number one, how hard they play defensively, and then just the skill level that they have among their top 6 to 7 guys. They can just do a lot of things. They can shoot the 3, they can put the ball on the floor, get to the lane, and then I believe it's Amari Evans inside. He's just kind of a man-child in there at 6'4", 6'5", that he can just dominate you around the rim. So I like Westerville North as a team that maybe somewhat of a surprise if you get to those district finals and maybe even make it into the regional.
Yeah, and they're just so fast, and I think defensively they're so capable. I think that's something that is overlooked. And I was thinking about it, and what other team in the area, when they're uncomfortable about their position in the game, transfers back into the fast break? I think a lot of times people just go back to their set offense or set defense, but they're looking to create opportunities for themselves when they don't necessarily feel like they have a great hold on the game. And I think it's unbelievable that they're able to establish such pace against teams like Olentangy Orange and Hayes. And even though at times those teams have been able to match that pace as well, it's been pretty unbreakable for them.
But let's maybe talk about a couple players that you've seen in the area that have really impressed you.
Yeah, so of course with Westerville North, we talked about the guard play, so we got to talk about that. Ty Perkins, 19 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game. He has an FMU offer, only a junior. Against Westerville South, he scored 34 points twice against Westerville South in both of their victories. His brother, Micah Young, is a junior shooting guard, 14 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and 3 steals, so very defensively active, but he can put the ball in the basket. They love working off of one another, and they actually have a younger brother in Tyson Perkins as well, who has the same kind of mindset, has the same kind of athletic ability.
Well, the thing that impressed me, I mean, all 3 of those guys impressed me, but the freshman, the times I've seen him play, Tyson Perkins is his vision of the court. I mean, he makes some passes that you're like, I'm not really sure how he saw that guy open. And you know, he's coming off the bench. So that's a spark. But the interesting thing is he comes off the bench, but a lot of times in a tighter ball game, he's on the floor in those last 3 to 4 minutes of the game. So a freshman to be able to do that is really good. That's got to be a great family with those 3 players.
Yeah, I think so, and I really think they're feeling it coming off of the last game. I think Brian covered that one. They had, 10 dunks in that game, and I mean, you could see it in the MVP interview, Ian Robinson and Vari Adams, that they were really, really feeling good coming off of that game. They even said, I think that was one of the best games that they had ever played, so it's good to see those guys cruising along with each other.
Yep, I mean, that's what you want as a coach is you're hoping that, you know, you end that regular season on a really positive note. And, you know, now they have some time off here to really prepare for the tournament. And I'm sure that they're going to be ready to go when it tips off.
Of course, we got to talk about Cruz McClure, the OCC scoring leaders, 26.7 points per game. He has 1,000 points in his career already as a junior for Westerville South. He's put up 40 points against Dublin Scioto, and I think even more impressive, he put up 41 points against Delaware Hayes. He was actually only the 4th player in Westerville South history to score 40 points or more in a game, and he's done it twice this season.
And he's got a good first name for how he plays, Cruz, because he just plays smooth. I mean, he does things that you're just like, it doesn't look like he's going that hard, but he does. I mean, he just kind of got that motor that just keeps on an even keel. But the other part that you notice about his game, you know, you talked about he scored 40. When you watch him play, though, he doesn't necessarily hunt for shots. He gets his shots within what their Ed Kalo and his staff expect him to do. But I think that when he's called on and he understands when it's time for me that I need to get a basket, he can do that. So he is one of the better players in the Columbus area, and I think it'll be interesting to see how he continues to grow after this season as he gets into the AAU circuit in the summer to see who's recruiting. Because I think the first time I saw him play, I believe the current head coach now at Ohio State, Jake Diebler, was there watching him.
A lot of options for that young man, especially as a junior. I mean, that's got to feel incredible.
Yes, I mean, to score 1,000 points before your senior season is pretty outstanding. Probably why Ed Kalo continues to coach Westerville South is when you got a player like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the opportunity to do so, when you keep riding that glory, I mean, I would take that opportunity too.
Yep.
And of course, we got to talk about Jesse Burris.
Yep, that's the other guy I think we're going to bring
forward.
up.
Yep, 14 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. He was a McDonald's All-American nominee. A bit of a dip in the scoring, but it's because it's for a good reason. He has more scorers around him. They picked up Landon Vanderwerker, who has been a great help to him, has alleviated a lot of the pressure. He's an Ohio University commit, and actually just broke the Hayes all-time leading scoring record. He has 1,528 points in his career.
Well, I think what you see with Jesse Burris, you said his scoring's down a little bit. And I think probably the understanding with him is I need to help. I need to have guys continue to get better around me. And the times I've watched him play, again, a player that doesn't hunt for shots. He's satisfied if his teammates are scoring. But again, it's always nice when you're a head coach that you know that you have that guy that can just go get a bucket when you need it. And that's really what he's been through his entire career at Delaware Hayes. And even more so now, when you get to the tournament, there's going to be some times they're going to be called upon that, you know, you're going to have to be the guy, and I think he understands that role that he has.
Yeah, his explosiveness is just unbelievable. We covered the game against Westerville North early on in the season, and he dunked on a guy from the baseline, and it was seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, he wasn't on a hot streak or anything, and just the ability to turn it on and control the game has just been unbelievable to watch this season.
Well, in Delaware Hayes, you know, they're kind of tasting that, because I believe they got beat in did they get beat in the regionals a year ago? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think they did. So they have that taste of what it's like to be there, and I'm sure they're fighting to get back there to see, you know, if they can get to that regional final and then have a chance to go to Dayton and be in the Final Four in D1.
Good opportunity there. And then last but not least, I want to talk about Devin Brown. I mean, one of the best players in Central Ohio, only a junior. He has 19 points per game. Strong two-way player, plays flex, guard, and forward. He has offers from Wright State University. Toledo could be joining Jesse Burris over at Ohio University, has an offer there, but has been extremely dynamic, a super successful Olentangy Orange team, and he has been the heart and soul of it.
Yes, I mean, I think the game that we did with Orange and at Westerville North, one of the ways that Orange was able to alleviate Westerville's North pressure was by him handling the basketball, because he can handle it. And then the other thing is, with his size, he can see over those traps. So in that game early in the year against North, he was able to kind of negate North's pressure with his ability to handle the ball, because he can play outside and then he can also go inside and post you up. So it's going to be interesting to see as their tournament run goes, how teams are going to try to contain him, because he can kind of do it all. He can handle it, he can shoot it, he can go inside and post up. He's going to be a player that I'm sure you mentioned a lot of schools right now that are on the radar on him. And I think it'll be interesting as he goes through the summer and prepares for his senior year next year, how much his level of play continues to grow and what other schools become interested in him.
Very much so. And I guess as a coach, you know, when you're talking to players like this that are the center of the opposing team's game plan every single time, what are you telling them? Are you telling them, you know, just follow the system, or is there anything spectacular you want them to do?
Well, I think the thing that all the players we've mentioned so far, you know, and I have not seen them play as much as other people have seen them play, but the impressive thing is they don't just hunt for shots. You know, sometimes you'll see somebody that's scoring 25 a game, they're searching for their shots. All of these guys have played within their team concept. But I think the other thing is the relationship that they probably have with their head coach. They're going to understand there are going to be times when they're going to have to be the guy and kind of take over that game. And I'm sure each of these coaches have plays or putting in plays when they know they need a bucket, that they're going to be able to get the ball to that scorer in a position that he can score. So I think that's what you look at when you have a player like that. But I think the big thing is all of these players have contributed to their team's success in a great way this year, and that's what you like to see about your best player.
Gotcha. Thanks for the insight.
Yep. I don't know if it's good insight or not, but it's some insight. So, but well, Bryce, we appreciate you joining us. We know we've worked together a couple times, and that's been great. But I think the next couple weeks in the Columbus area are going to be really exciting, because there's going to be some great matchups as we start to get to sectional finals and into the district tournament in the Columbus area.
Welcome back here on The Joe Show. I am OH Report founder Brian Skowronski, and it's time for my favorite segment of the show every single week because I'm always involved. And plus, who doesn't want to see the top 10 best plays captured by our OH Report cameras from the last 7 days here on our network? And a few people have asked me, how do we come up with these? Well, how it works is we get submissions. Pretty much every single game that we do, we get one play, maybe two, if there's some awesome highlights within it. And it's all up to me to decide what was the best of the best and then put them in order. So without further ado, we'll show you the top 10 cuts of the week, brought to you by Buckeye Horizon. Here they come, your top cuts of the week, all exclusively presented by our good friends at Buckeye Horizon. We're going to get out and run here to start the countdown, but get ready for a big scourge as Centerburg's Evie Stowe hits the brake check and drills the short-range J. We're going to run it back in slow motion now so that you can admire Evie tugging on that E-brake for the bucket and a big win for the Lady Trojans. Football season may be over, but Clear Fork drawing up a Hail Mary bomb at the Colt Corral, and this one's going for 6. Well, maybe just 2 points for Bo Dornbrier, who snuck behind the defense for a wide open layup. But as we take a second look, Adam Van Osdol showcases the rocket arm as the lefty goes deep and the play call works to perfection, ending in the end zone with the student section. Thought we were in line for a competitive game at the Birdcage on Saturday with a pair of 19-win teams, but Corey Vermillion had other plans, cashing in the thefts with a slick reverse layup, finishing with a right hand on the left side. Check out this gorgeous step through as well as the Loudonville senior standout turn some defense into points. We head to the castle at top cut number 7. Loose ball up for grabs is going to end with Hunter Folk, who turns in some loose change for a 2-point reward. And in spectacular fashion, as the video obviously shows, take a second look at the fancy finish highlighted by a nice bit of hang time. It's Ladies' Night in Shelby, which featured a fun rivalry showcase highlighted by a nice hesitation here by Eve Schwemley, who loses the handle but has the wherewithal to regather for the dime, all in one motion as she finds Sarah Reiser for the hoop. Nice move here by Eve and a win over Willard, keeping her concentration to set up Sarah for a point-blank bucket. Join me at the mountaintop now for play number 5 for Cayman Isles. Watch this. He's going to snatch the ball right out of the offensive player's clutches with a nasty block, sends it ahead to Brock Montgomery, and the long-sleeved Ram will finish off the play in style. I mean, this is a pretty unbelievable block. Watch it again. Bam! Right there. And then, as they go the other way, a sharp head fake at the other end. The defender flies by and the Rams cruise by Buckeye Central at home. More from Loudonville's Vermillion in our top 4 now. No balance? No problem for Corey. Flipping it up as she's sitting sideways like Paul Wall in a daze. And like the people's champ, Corey looking icy with this acrobatic bucket. At number 3, let's head down 71 to Westerville North, where it was senior night for the Warriors and Vari Adams was celebrating above the rim. Crazy hang time and a beautiful setup too. One of 4 dunks on the night for Vari, but none more spectacular than this transition alley-oop. More dunks coming up at the top 2 spot, and nobody slows down Davion Mack, so he's going to rock the rim like a wrecking ball. Such force for this freshman who checked in at number 1 on my countdown last week with another monster dunk, but we gotta see this again. Max skies high from the volleyball line and puts some hot sauce on the delicious smash burger. But at number 1 this week, we go back to Warrior Country where thank goodness there was security because Ian Robinson catching a body, son. His teammates' reactions tell you everything that you need to know as the Westerville North duo each got a big dunk, but wow, what a killer one right there for top cut number 1. So those are my top cuts of the week. What say you, the fans out there? Can you actually do better than what we had at number 1? 2 was good. I like 3. I don't know. The whole top 4 pretty spectacular. Comment below. Let me know where you fall on this week's rankings. But now, speaking of rankings, how about we toss it over to Travis Berardi? He's hanging out with Joe Balogh for his Country Roads edition. Boys and girls coming up right now. This is Big Leagues Country Roads Rankings. Yoo-hoo!
Aloha again, everybody, and I say aloha because of the balmy weather we're having outside, Joe, and that means only one thing. We're getting close to tournament time, the final week of the regular season for boys. Tournament time beginning, well, it began before this show at Loudonville for the girls, so, this is the best time of year.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of the year if you're a high school basketball player, boys or girls. These next few weeks can really, put a cap on your season if you make that tournament run. There's nothing more exciting for players and community and fans than when your team gets on a tournament run and makes that season really, really special.
Now, as a coach, did the nerves pick up? Did it go to like 11 once you got the tournament time, or were you just even keel Joe Balogh the whole time?
I think I used to get nervous for every game, but tournament games, especially, we had the chance to play in the districts at Ashland, and before they changed the seats, I think that probably sat close to 2,800, 3,000 people, and you pulled the bus up, and there were thousands of people standing outside. There was no feeling like that to go into an arena when you warmed up and the place was packed. So it's exciting, really, really exciting.
Nothing like basketball in Ohio. But before we get to our tournaments, it's time for another edition of My Country Roads Rankings. The final edition for the girls. We'll have one more edition of the boys in our final episode. But as always, Coach, ladies first in the final top 5 of My Girls Country Roads Rankings, the top 5 Division 3 and 4 teams. At number 5, it is the KMAC champion, Centerburg Lady Trojans, and I still had them. They had a very head-scratching loss to East Knox to end the regular season. East Knox only an 8-win team, but they were ahead far enough from that number 6 and number 7 team that I put the KMAC champs still in there at 17-5.
Yeah, anytime you're able to win a league, I guess, your concern would be, we're really not sure if they had injuries or sickness. That always can play into it. But, when you lose to an 8-win team at the very end of the year, going into the tournament, that would be a little bit concerned as a coach. But congratulations to Centerburg. Outstanding season. Anytime you're able to win a league championship, that makes this season special.
And you never know, it might be one of those wake-up calls to get them ready back for the season. My number 4 team, despite 2 losses to end the regular season, a loss to River Valley by 4 points, and a loss to a West Holmes team that I believe won the OCC championship by 3 points, is the Clear Fork Lady Colts, 15-7. Those 7 losses, no head-scratching losses there. Twice to Shelby, lost twice to River Valley, Mansfield Senior, and West Holmes. So they played a tough schedule. They won some big games as well. And despite those 2 losses, the end of regular season only dropped them down 1 because they're a very good squad. Yeah,
I think they've been a team that's gotten better as the season's gone along. I had a chance on Sunday to talk to Coach Scott Sellers, and I think he's trying to put that West Holmes game at the very end of the year, every year, because he felt they really had a chance to win that game. And you're playing against a team that's going to be a tournament type team. So if you look at their path too in the tournament, they've got a great chance to possibly win a district title in Division 3.
Yeah, we have to think it's them and Margaretta that are the top 2, and we'll find that out. You'll be able to see that on the OH Report here in the next couple of weeks, those matchups. My number 3 team, they've jumped up a little bit. It's the Cary Lady Devils, 19-3. They're the Northern 10 champs. They had some really good wins. They beat Arcadia. They beat Bucyrus, who's an up-and-coming team, and then they beat a pesky Upper Sandusky squad to finish out the season. But 19-3 headed into their district tournament. That's a great sign for the Cary Lady Devils.
Yeah, and Cary's kind of the team that survived that N10 schedule. A few weeks ago, we were talking about everybody knocking off everybody, but they've kind of found their way through it. Again, a league champion, truly deserving of the ranking that you have them at.
My number 2 team, it is the Pleasant Lady Spartans, 18-4, 2 losses to Clear Fork. They also have that loss to Minster at the Hoosier Gym, and then 1 other loss. But the runners-up was the Shelby, was their other loss. But they
also beat the Whippets earlier in the year.
Them. So that's what's keeping them at that number 2 spot. But 18-4, they won last night in their sectional semifinal game. They will host Northmore in a sectional championship. So it's looking like they're a squad that can make at least a district semifinal, but you never know. This is a team that if they're hot, they might make a run.
Yeah, if you look at all 4 of their losses,
Yeah.
they didn't lose to anybody that you would say, hey, that's an upset. They lost to quality teams. So again, not a league champion, but right behind the league champion in Shelby, which I think that's the next direction we're going to go. Well,
Yeah,
no,
well,
because Shelby's in the
That'd
big
be on your,
schools.
that's your
on my
track.
side. I'm getting them mixed up.
Don't give anything
here.
away, Joe.
That's
Don't
right,
give anything
yeah.
away for
So-
yours. But the number 1 team, it's the Loudonville Lady Redbirds.
Yep.
Congratulations on another championship from the Country Roads rankings. They finished 20-2, and the 2 losses are to teams a couple divisions ahead of them that are probably going to make tournament runs as well. But what really clinched it, Joe, a game I saw with my own eyes live and free on Saturday, they just steamrolled a 19-2 Columbia squad that they have a good chance of doing some things. They got their top scorer into foul trouble early. The Vermilias did their thing. The other 2 seniors, in Williams and Spangler, they did their thing. And this is a team that's poised to make it to Dayton. I don't even mean districts or regionals. This is a team that has their eyes sight on a state championship.
Nothing like putting pressure on Coach Bates there.
Not only that, but Corey Vermilia, in her reader for her senior night, says her favorite memory, she has many, but her best one is going to be making it the UD Arena. So they already have those sights on there. Not the media, we have to do our thing. But it's them that think they can do it as well.
Yeah, they've had an outstanding season. And, I mean, the game that their last game, I think Coach Bates said, the best game that he's probably coached for a long, long time. So on the right track. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, as we mentioned before, got a player like Corey Vermilia. She can just kind of put a team on her back. But it seems like her younger sister.
8 threes.
I mean,
8 threes in a game.
It's nice for Coach Bates that he's going to get 3 more years of another Vermilia that can make them pretty good.
And another reason why I'm saying this is a team that can make it to Dayton is they have such balance. They had I believe it was a school record 15 threes in that game. So it wasn't just Vermilia that was hitting. It was Corey, it was Williams, it was Spangler, every other player. But then they do have that inside presence. Alicia Felix, another player, big, tall, big underneath. And then you have Corey Vermilia, it's not afraid to go in there, get some big rebounds, things like that. So they have a really balanced squad. And then with the defense that they have, the sky's the limit.
Yep. I mean, and if they play like they did their last game, your prediction could come true.
So my final top 5 for the girls: number 5, Centerburg; 4, Clear Fork; 3, Cary; 2, Pleasant; 1, Loudonville.
No real disagreement there. All teams that have had special seasons, but to make it really special would be to be playing here in about 3 weeks.
I don't think you objected to any of my top 5 for the girls. I guess I'm doing something right. Either that or you're just too nice to me, Joe.
Or maybe I'm just a good assistant that agrees with you all the time.
That's what you love to have, though, a good assistant.
No,
like
you
that.
don't. You like to have one.
No.
You like to have ones that argue with you a little bit. So,
Okay. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year I'll
Maybe
get a little
next
bit
year.
more vocal.
Okay.
Or maybe here on the boys we can see.
We're going to start off with my boys' top 5. I'll have one more edition of that when we finish our Joe Show season coming up. But my top 5.5. I have a 5A and a 5B. I'll explain to you. I'll go through the 2 teams. But my 5B is the Co-K-Mac champion Northmore Golden Knights. They had wins against Loudonville on senior night, and they win against Wynford at Wynford. A really good win for them. They have a 6-point loss at Fredericktown, and then that heartbreaking buzzer-beating loss to Gallion, which was a really well-defended. We both seen the highlight. Really well-defended defensive play, but Gallion Elijah Chafin just hit an enormous shot.
And Gallion's
to win
played
it there.
well at home this year.
They have.
It
was a tournament atmosphere, too.
Yes.
The place was packed. So that's why I have them at 5B. But at 5A, welcome into the rankings, the Mansfield Christian Flames. This is a team deserving of making my top 5, and they really showed me last night in their just absolute dominance of New London. They outscored them 29-0 with their 5 seniors. So the 2 freshmen didn't even play in that first quarter. They outscored them 29-0 in the first quarter. They have 5 great seniors, and then with the other 2 freshmen, this is a team that you never know. They could make a run. Their losses, Lucas twice. They lost to Northmore. That's why I kept Northmore in at 5A and B. And then they lost to Crestview. So for Mansfield Christian, no bad losses there. And they could have beaten Lucas both games. They had a chance at the end.
And I think what you've seen with them is Amar Davis, I believe, averaged over 20 a year ago. He's only averaging 16. So you can see that the team around him is much better. And they've got a path that they could be a team that could cause some trouble in the district tournament.
Yeah, they get New London back-to-back games, and we just saw what they did against New London.
Yep.
So I'm guessing there's not going to be an upset there. Then they go to St. Paul, and St. Paul's they're without their big now, so that could be a different game for them. And then we'll get physical versus finesse.
Yep.
Colonel Crawford versus Mansfield Christian. That could be a very fun game to watch up at Willard.
Yes, that would be an interesting contrast of styles.
Speaking of Crawford, a team that beat them twice is my number 4 team, and that is the Seneca East Tigers. 16-5. They have one game remaining in their schedule, but this is a team that has been just progressing as the season's advanced. 2 big wins against Colonel Crawford as well, kept them around in the Northern 10 race. But they're deserving of that spot, number 4, and they're in that Willard district, but on the bottom half.
Yes, I mean, Anthony Langhurst, their coach, has done a solid job there. I think they play a lot of 1-3-1, which is a different defense that a lot of teams don't see, and sometimes that difference causes teams a lot of problem, especially caused Crawford problems both times they played them this year.
Another team that we could see maybe facing Mansfield Christian or Crawford from the bottom half of the bracket, the Lucas Cubs. 17-4. They had a big win over Mansfield Christian in the game you saw live and free at home. They beat Clear Fork in a battle of rivals. Crestline and Plymouth, they had a tough loss to Willard, but I mean, Max Dawson and company, they're a team that I think may surprise some people in that district in Division II. But 17-4, they're going to finish as my number 3 team so far.
Well, the night I saw them play last was against Clear Fork, and I mean, Logan Toms was solid, but Aiden Cullors, I think, had 30. And they've had some other guys that have stepped up. Grayson Jackson, I believe, also. And so I think that's got to be really pleasing for the Cubs in that now you don't have to just put everything on Logan's back. There's some other guys that are stepping up here at the end of the year.
Coach Joe Jakubic back in the day always told me this about the D4 tournament when they were really good those few years. For Division 4, you have a solid 5, but if you have 1 or 2 bench players, if you have a good 7 players in Division 4, you could go far with that. I know in Division 3 and 2, you need a lot of role players, but with what you have in Division 4, if you have a couple players that could add on, it could get you far.
And then the other part with Lucas is just their experience. I mean, Logan Toms has probably been in the district tournament every year that he's played, and they've had some special seasons. So those guys understand it, and some of those other guys that are now stepping into roles, they may not play, but they've sat on the bench, so they know what that feeling is, and you hunger to have that taste, and that's kind of where they're at.
And talking with Taylor Eisman last week on the podcast, it's that culture that he's built from his first year as Cubs coach now to being the all-time leading wins leader at Lucas. Number 2, another team in that district, it's the Colonel Crawford Eagles. 16-5, they beat Mount Gilead in the game you saw. They beat Wynford in the game I saw. Really great battle, but their lone loss since our last update was to Seneca East. It's just that, you know, that they couldn't get that monkey off their back from Seneca East, but you never know, they might get to see them one more time. But their resume is good enough to put them as my number 2 team. Yes,
I mean, you know, if you take a look at Crawford, they're a lot different team than maybe their good teams of the past couple years. They're not really a finesse team at all. They're physical. They're going to beat you up. They're going to wear you down. They're going to put the ball in the post.
Yeah.
And the big thing for Crawford is guys understand their roles. There's not a lot of deviation. They got, you know, 3 guys in Bruner, Goddard, and Vogt that kind of shoot threes. And then the McMichael brothers, they're like tag team guys that they slap hands and come in and just beat the heck out of you.
Yeah.
And then Payne DeGray's pretty much averaged almost a double-double all year and is only a sophomore. He's got a brother, I think his name's John DeGray, that's a freshman that's now playing some.
Yeah, he is.
So they're kind of rolling in the tournament here. But again, you take a look at that possible matchup in the district semis of them and Mansfield Christian. Contrast of styles would really be interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks, but you know, still have a little basketball to play on the boys' side. My number 1 team, they're still there, 20-1, the Crestview Cougars. They had that tough loss at St. Paul at the buzzer, but that's their lone blemish. They're the lone team in our area with just 1 loss. They're going to stay there, and I'm pretty much going to say they're going to be the champion when I reveal the final 5, unless they get blown out by Western Reserve and no offense to Coach Chris Sheldon, great guy up at Western Reserve, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes, a loss takes a little bit of pressure off of that, off of you a little bit. Also, maybe get your kids to refocus a little bit. I think I watched a little bit of an interview today with Dan Hurley, the coach of UConn, that they got beat
by
Creighton last night, and that was kind of one of his things. Was like sometimes when you get on one of those rolls, you can't, whatever you do, you can't get your kids to focus. And now sometimes with the loss, it makes you refocus. And Crestview is going to have to refocus because number one, Chris Sheldon does a great job in preparation.
Yes, he does.
But then number two, when you get to the tournament, Margaretta came right at them.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't go opposite. They're going to play them in the, if everything works out, they're going to play them in the district semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe a little bit of juice for the Cougars there too. That hey, this team, Margaretta doesn't think we're as good as we are, and they're coming right after us. So again, Travis, can't really disagree with you on too much there. You might be able to switch a couple, but
yeah.
All solid seasons there. But again, going back, have a solid regular season. Now to make the season a little bit special is what do you do in the tournament?
Yep. Yeah, so my final top 5.5, you could say, for the boys. We'll have one more, like I said, update on them coming up. But 5B, Northmore, 5A, Mansfield Christian, 4, Seneca East, 3, Lucas, 2, Crawford, number 1, Crestview. There are my top 5 for the girls and boys. And guess what, Coach? All those teams play defense.
Every year that Issaiah Ramsey has been in high school, his Shelby Whippets have captured a MOAC basketball championship. The squad finished league play unblemished this year at 14-0 and have yet to lose since the start of 2024 with 13 straight victories. I had a chance to speak with the senior forward about his piece to the Shelby puzzle as we took a trip around the arena. Okay, we're here with Issaiah Ramsey at the Shelby Whippets to go around the arena. So, Issaiah, you guys are 17-2. You're 13-0 in the league. You just had a really big win over Finley, over at OG at they call the Supreme Court. That had to be exciting. And you got a chance this Friday night to go undefeated in the league, which is really difficult to do. What's that kind of win mean for you guys at this point of the season that you beat Finley on Saturday? And then also, what's it mean to have that chance to go undefeated in the league?
I think Finley was a top 3 team in D1, so that meant a lot, not only for rankings and stuff, but just as a team win. And they go undefeated in the league. That's something I've never done in my 4 years being here. And not only that, but Shelby's never won 20 wins in one season.
I heard Coach talking about that this morning, or not this morning, but at the beginning of practice.
Yep, and we have a chance to do that too this year. So, that's always in the back of our head. But right now, last few games as a senior, we're just trying to cherish those moments.
Every player that, I talk to, and I think, any player, they always have people that influence their careers. Who would be that person or persons that have maybe been a major influence in your career here at Shelby?
I'm definitely going to have to go with my grandpa who raised me. He's done a lot for me in my life. And, when I step on that court or the field or whatever sport it is, he's always in the back of my mind, and that's who I play for.
You've been a star on the football team and star here on the basketball team. And you mentioned you ran track last year, probably going to play baseball.
Yeah.
And this is your last year at Shelby. It seems probably like it's going fast, but what's it mean when you put that Shelby uniform on?
It means everything to me. Living in a small town, I was very fortunate to, be here my whole life, and I've had nothing but a great experience here. And, I bought my football jerseys, probably going to buy my basketball jerseys, and that's how much it really means to me to wear the Shelby uniform.
Well, my last year coaching, you were a freshman.
Yeah.
So, I remember watching you play JV, and you were a really good athlete. It's been impressive for me to watch just how you've grown as a player. And maybe talk just a little bit about, from that freshman experience to where you're at now, some things that you've really learned about being an athlete, whether it be in football or basketball.
A few big things I really learned is, always keep your composure and always, have a good head. I mean, you don't want to, go out there and have.
When you were younger, that was a little bit difficult for you at times.
It was. I mean, I was coming into the freshman trying to prove myself, and when you get a big head and stuff, it just everything can go downhill so fast, and that was the main thing on my mind.
I think as an athlete that's had so much success in football and basketball, but one of the things I think that's always interesting for somebody like you is, especially in the summer, how did you balance that time with football and basketball? I mean, maybe talk a little bit about just like what maybe a typical day would be like for you in the summer.
So one of the practices of the days, I had morning football, and then I had basketball. We did a camp from 8 to 12, and I went back to football for 7-on-7. So that was just one of the hectic days. Usually, May was football, June was basketball, and then July was back to football. So I don't think I had a single day other than a Sunday off for my summer.
So when you do get a chance to relax and you're not working out or doing something for a sport, what do you like to do?
Definitely in the summer, hang out with my friends and go and get in the pool for sure.
Do you have a favorite athlete, football or basketball, that you kind of maybe have liked to really try to model after?
Football, definitely Cooper Kupp. I like watching him. He's a very humble player, and especially for sports and just life in general, I follow him a lot.
Go-to pregame meal, do you have one, or does it make any difference?
Usually, both sports, I go with Twitch energy drink and some pretzels.
If you're going out to eat, not pregame meal, but what are you going to order? What's your favorite thing?
Probably Chipotle or Panda Express.
Okay. Yeah. You're kind of a stopper on this team defensively.
Yeah.
You got to go, especially this year, I'm sure you've gone against, but who's the toughest player that you maybe had to guard in your career so far?
Two I can really think of right now. My freshman year, I went in and face guarded Griffin Shaver. Yeah. And second one this year, Colin White, Ohio State commit for Ottawa Glandorf.
Last question. As we said, you've had a great career, but so far, what's the best memory of your high school career?
I'm gonna have to go when our team manager Mason Simmons hit that three. That meant so much, and that's the greatest atmosphere I've been in my high school career. And if you were here, you'd have to be here to witness it. I mean, it was insane. Everyone just stood up and shouted. It was an amazing moment.
Well, that's around the arena, and Isaiah, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Shelby will close out the regular season with arguably the most anticipated Division II game in the state when the Whippets travel to Willard for a clash of top 10 ranked teams on Friday. You can watch that exciting battle live and free right here on the OH Report with Travis and Abram Capel on the call. That's going to wrap up our final regular season edition of The Joe Show. We'll take a few weeks off, then we'll see you again for a special playoff edition ahead of the Boys State Championships. Have an awesome rest of your week and enjoy the postseason action while it's here.